I think one of the biggest financial myths is that everyone should invest before paying off debt.
That's a bold way to start because millions of people believe investing should always come first.
The problem is that people often ask the question without looking at the kind of debt they're carrying.
Exactly, because a mortgage, a student loan, and a credit card balance are completely different financial situations.
Yet people throw all debt into the same bucket, as if every dollar you owe behaves the same way.
And that's where expensive mistakes begin because interest rates completely change the conversation.
Imagine earning 10% from an investment while paying 24% on a credit card.
That's like trying to fill a bathtub while someone quietly pulls the drain open.
It feels productive because you're investing, but mathematically you're losing ground.
What's fascinating is that many people continue investing simply because it feels like building wealth.
Meanwhile, high-interest debt keeps growing in the background without asking anyone's permission.
Compound interest is amazing when it works for you, but it's brutal when it works against you.
Most people hear the phrase compound growth and immediately think about becoming wealthy.
They rarely realize the bank is hoping you'll ignore that same principle on your monthly statement.
Here's something that surprised me years ago. Eliminating expensive debt can sometimes produce the closest thing to a guaranteed return.
That's because every dollar of high interest you never have to pay is money that stays in your pocket.
People chase uncertain investment returns while overlooking certain savings sitting right in front of them.
That doesn't mean investing is wrong, but it does mean the order matters more than people think.
And once you understand that, the question stops being, should I invest or pay off debt first? And becomes, which decision improves my financial position the fastest? That's the question that separates emotional money decisions from strategic ones.
Since we're separating different kinds of debt, where do you usually draw the first line?
I start with the interest rate because it's often the clearest indicator of how urgent the debt is.
So if someone has a credit card charging over 20%, that's usually the first fire to put out.
In many cases, yes, because consistently earning more than that through investing is never guaranteed.
But what if the debt is a mortgage with a relatively low interest rate?
That's where the conversation becomes much more interesting because low-interest debt doesn't create the same urgency.
Some people even keep low-interest debt longer while investing the difference over many years.
And history shows that diversified investments have often produced higher long-term returns than low borrowing costs, although nothing is guaranteed.
That's the part people sometimes skip when repeating financial advice online.
Right, because they hear a strategy without understanding the conditions that made it work.
It's like copying someone's workout routine without knowing their age, health, or fitness level.
Personal finance has the same problem because personal circumstances matter more than catchy slogans.
Let's imagine two friends making exactly the same salary.
One has no debt and 6 months of emergency savings.
The other has credit card debt, no savings, and lives paycheck to paycheck.
Giving both people the exact same advice would ignore the reality they're living in.
That's why blanket financial advice usually sounds smarter than it actually is.
Your balance sheet tells a much more honest story than your income alone.
People love asking, how much do you make? But they rarely ask, what do you owe? And sometimes that second question explains far more about someone's financial future than the first.
Here's another question people almost never ask themselves. What happens if life doesn't go according to plan?
You mean losing a job, facing a medical bill, or having the car suddenly need a $2,000 repair?
Exactly, because financial plans usually look perfect until real life interrupts them.
That's why I get nervous when someone uses every extra dollar to attack debt without keeping any cash available.
Some people hear that and immediately say, but cash isn't earning much. True, but an emergency fund isn't designed to maximize returns. It's designed to give you options.
Options become incredibly valuable when your paycheck unexpectedly disappears.
And without cash, people often solve one debt problem by creating another.
I've seen someone pay off a credit card completely, only to swipe it again a month later because their water heater failed.
That's a frustrating cycle because they celebrated progress and then watched it disappear almost overnight.
Which is why many financial planners recommend building at least a small emergency cushion before aggressively paying down debt.
Even 1 month of essential expenses can prevent a temporary setback from becoming a long-term financial problem.
It's interesting how people think cash sitting in a savings account is doing nothing.
When in reality, it's quietly protecting every other part of your financial plan.
Insurance works the same way because you hope you never need it, but you're grateful it's there when you do.
That's a great comparison because an emergency fund is really self-insurance against life surprises.
And life has a habit of sending the bill before sending the warning.
Which explains why the smartest financial plans aren't just built for good times.
They're built to survive the difficult seasons without falling apart.
Once your plan can handle unexpected setbacks, every investing decision becomes much less stressful.
Here's where I think people get emotionally trapped. They confuse being debt-free with being financially free.
That's an important distinction because those two things can overlap, but they aren't automatically the same.
Someone can own nothing and still have no investments, no emergency fund, and no growing income.
On paper, they're debt-free, but one unexpected expense can throw everything off balance.
On the other hand, someone might have a manageable mortgage, a healthy investment portfolio, and steady cash flow.
Which means their net worth, the value of what they own minus what they owe, could be growing every year.
That's why looking at only one number rarely tells the whole financial story.
Money works more like a system than a scoreboard.
I like that because systems produce results long before results become visible.
Think about planting a tree because for months it looks like almost nothing is happening above the ground.
Meanwhile, the roots are quietly growing where nobody can see them.
Wealth often develops the same way because the strongest financial habits are usually invisible at first.
Yet people compare themselves to someone driving a newer car instead of someone building a stronger balance sheet.
That's because lifestyles are easy to see, but financial statements are private.
And appearances can be incredibly expensive to maintain.
I've known people with luxury cars who admitted they dreaded opening their banking app.
That's a reminder that income, spending, and wealth are three completely different things.
Higher income creates opportunity, but good decisions determine whether that opportunity lasts.
Which brings us back to the original question, because paying off debt or investing should both move you toward long-term financial freedom.
The smartest choice isn't the one that looks impressive today, it's the one that leaves you stronger 5 or 10 years from now. Let me challenge something that gets repeated all the time. Invest as early as possible. I don't disagree with the idea, but I do think people sometimes apply it without considering their financial reality.
Exactly, because starting early is powerful only if your foundation isn't cracking underneath you.
Imagine buying seeds for a garden while the fence is broken and animals keep eating everything you plant.
You wouldn't stop planting forever, but you'd probably fix the fence first.
That's how I think about high-interest debt, because it keeps consuming money that could have been growing elsewhere.
But I also worry about people waiting for the perfect moment before investing.
That's another trap, because perfection has delayed more investors than market crashes ever did.
Someone spends years saying, "I'll invest after this bill is gone, after I get promoted, after I move." Then suddenly 10 years have passed and they still haven't bought their first investment.
Time is one advantage you can never recover once it's gone.
Which is why the conversation shouldn't become all debt or all investing.
Sometimes the smartest approach is doing both at the same time.
I know people who put most of their extra money toward debt while still investing a smaller amount every month.
That keeps them making financial progress on two important fronts.
It also helps build consistency because investing is as much a habit as it is a financial strategy.
Habits are interesting because they usually feel insignificant until you've repeated them hundreds of times.
That's true whether you're building wealth or building debt.
Small monthly decisions have a way of becoming major financial outcomes years later.
Which is why the best financial plan is often the one you'll actually stick with for decades.
Here's something I've noticed. People spend weeks researching investments, but only minutes reading the terms of their debt.
That's surprising because your debt contract already tells you exactly what it's going to cost if you ignore it.
Most people can name a few famous stocks, but they can't tell you the interest rate on their own credit card.
And you can't make a smart financial decision without knowing your numbers first.
I like to think of money as a business, and every business starts by understanding its expenses.
Debt interest is one of the biggest expenses many households never fully measure.
Imagine owning a small coffee shop that quietly loses money on every cup it sells.
You wouldn't focus on decorating the shop before fixing the part that's draining profits.
That's exactly what high-interest debt does to personal finances.
Every month it takes a portion of your future income before you even get a chance to use it.
People often say they don't have money to invest.
But sometimes they actually have money that's being redirected toward interest payments instead.
That's a powerful shift in perspective because it changes the problem from earning more to keeping more.
And keeping more of what you earn is often easier than doubling your income.
Of course, earning more still matters because a growing income creates more financial options.
Absolutely, but higher income without better decisions usually leads to higher spending.
Lifestyle inflation is incredibly common because every raise seems to come with a bigger monthly payment.
A nicer apartment, a newer car, more subscriptions, and suddenly the raise disappears.
Which is why financial freedom depends less on what comes in and more on what stays with you.
Once you learn to control that difference, both paying off debt and investing become much easier.
Let me ask you something that catches people off guard. If someone handed you an extra $5,000 today, what would you do with it?
Most people would answer that question in less than 5 seconds, and that's exactly what worries me.
Because the speed of the answer usually tells you it's emotional rather than strategic.
I would start by asking what debts I have, what my interest rates are, and whether I have enough emergency savings.
That's not the exciting answer people want to hear.
Financial decisions rarely become expensive because they're boring. They become expensive because they're impulsive.
Think about how often people receive a tax refund or a work bonus.
For a few days, it feels like free money even though they worked all year to earn it.
Then the spending starts because the money feels different from a regular paycheck.
Behavioral psychologists call that mental accounting, where people treat money differently depending on where they think it came from.
Even though every dollar has exactly the same purchasing power.
Your bank account doesn't separate bonus dollars from salary dollars.
That's why I like having a simple decision process before unexpected money arrives.
Otherwise, your emotions become the financial planner.
A written plan removes a surprising amount of stress because you've already decided what your priorities are.
It also prevents that feeling of wondering later where all the money went.
We've all experienced that moment of looking back and realizing the opportunity disappeared one small purchase at a time.
Those purchases rarely feel significant individually, but together they can delay financial goals by years.
Which proves that building wealth isn't usually about one perfect decision.
It's about making enough good decisions consistently that time starts working in your favor.
There's another mistake people make that doesn't get enough attention. They compare financial strategies without comparing financial personalities.
That's a great point because two people can follow the exact same plan and get completely different results.
One person sees a credit card with available credit and feels nothing.
The other sees the same card and immediately starts thinking about what they could buy.
That's why behavior often matters more than spreadsheets.
A perfect financial plan that you can't follow is less valuable than a good one you can stick to for years.
I've seen people obsess over earning an extra 1% on investments while ignoring habits that cost them hundreds of dollars every month.
It's amazing how we chase tiny gains while overlooking massive leaks.
Imagine trying to sail across the ocean with a small hole in the bottom of the boat.
You wouldn't spend your time polishing the sails before fixing the leak.
That's exactly how I think about unnecessary spending that's become automatic.
Like subscriptions you forgot about or impulse purchases that barely get used.
Those expenses don't seem dangerous because they're usually small.
But small recurring costs have a way of becoming surprisingly large over time.
It's almost funny how someone will spend an hour researching a $20 investment, but buy a $200 gadget in 5 minutes.
That's because investing feels risky while spending feels familiar.
Familiar doesn't always mean harmless.
In fact, some of the most expensive financial habits are the ones we stop noticing.
Which is why reviewing your finances regularly is just as important as creating a plan.
Because a financial plan isn't something you write once and forget. It's something that evolves as your life changes.
Let me throw out a scenario because this is where people usually change their minds.
I already have a feeling this is going to be more complicated than it sounds.
Imagine someone has an extra $1,000 every month after paying all their bills.
They also have a credit card charging 22% interest and a low-interest mortgage at 4%.
Most people immediately ask whether that $1,000 should go toward investing or debt.
But I'd answer with another question. Which debt are we talking about?
Exactly. because treating those two debts the same would be a serious mistake.
I'd focus aggressively on the credit card because 22% is an incredibly high hurdle for investments to overcome consistently.
Once that's gone, the conversation changes dramatically.
Then we can evaluate whether investing more makes sense while continuing normal mortgage payments.
That's why financial advice without context can easily become bad advice.
The details determine the strategy.
People love universal rules because they remove the need to think.
Unfortunately, money keeps rewarding people who think carefully instead of automatically.
Here's another example that surprises people.
Go ahead, because I think you're about to challenge another common belief.
Some people rush to pay off every dollar of low-interest debt, even when it leaves them with almost no savings.
Then one unexpected emergency forces them to borrow again at a much higher interest rate.
Which means the victory they celebrated ends up creating an even bigger problem.
That's why good financial decisions should strengthen your overall position, not just improve one number on a spreadsheet.
We've talked a lot about debt, but we haven't talked enough about opportunity cost.
That's one of those financial terms that sounds complicated even though the idea is surprisingly simple.
Opportunity cost is what you give up when you choose one option instead of another.
So if I use every extra dollar to pay off low-interest debt, I might be giving up years of potential investment growth.
And if I invest everything while ignoring expensive debt, I might be giving up money through interest payments.
That's why the real question isn't which option is good, it's which option costs you less over time.
I like to picture every dollar as an employee looking for its next assignment.
The smartest move is sending that employee to the job where it creates the most value.
That's a much better way to think about money than simply asking where it should go.
Money without a purpose usually finds one on its own, and it's rarely the one you intended.
Have you noticed how people become incredibly motivated after making one good financial decision?
Definitely, because progress creates confidence, and confidence encourages consistency.
Someone pays off their first credit card and suddenly believes bigger goals are actually possible.
That first win often changes their identity more than their bank balance.
Instead of saying, "I'm trying to manage my money," they start thinking, "I'm someone who manages money well." And lasting financial success usually follows identity before it follows income.
That's why celebrating meaningful milestones matters, even if they're small.
Paying off a single debt or reaching your first savings goal proves your plan is working.
Once you experience that momentum, making the next smart decision becomes much easier.
Maybe that's the biggest lesson so far. The best financial strategy isn't just mathematically sound. It's the one that helps you keep making better decisions tomorrow. Let me ask one final question. What does winning with money actually look like to you?
I don't think it starts with becoming a millionaire because it starts with having choices.
That's interesting because people usually measure wealth by what they can buy.
I measure it by what they no longer have to worry about.
Imagine waking up without stressing over the next credit card payment or the next unexpected bill.
That's a different kind of wealth because it buys peace of mind instead of possessions.
And peace of mind rarely shows up in a social media post.
Yet, it's probably one of the most valuable returns money can provide.
The irony is that many people sacrifice peace today, hoping to enjoy it someday.
Which is why balance matters so much in personal finance.
Paying off debt isn't about punishing yourself.
Investing isn't about getting rich overnight.
Both are simply tools that should help you build a stronger future.
The smartest people don't become emotionally attached to either strategy.
They evaluate their situation, adjust their plan, and keep moving forward.
Because life changes, interest rates change, markets change, and your priorities change too.
The only strategy that consistently fails is refusing to adapt.
Financial success isn't built by making one perfect decision.
It's built by making thoughtful decisions repeatedly, even when they don't feel exciting.
And that's exactly why the question was never just whether you should invest or pay off debt first, but whether every decision is bringing you one step closer to lasting financial freedom.
There's one thing I wish people understood earlier. Your financial plan should serve your life, not the other way around.
I agree because money is a tool, and tools only matter if they help you build something meaningful.
Some people become so focused on maximizing every dollar that they forget to enjoy the life those dollars are supposed to support.
At the same time, enjoying today shouldn't mean sacrificing tomorrow.
That's the balance everyone is chasing, even if they don't realize it.
And balance looks different for everyone depending on their goals, family, career, and stage of life.
A recent graduate, a young family, and someone approaching retirement shouldn't expect the same financial strategy to fit all three situations.
That's why comparing your financial journey to someone else's is usually a losing game.
The only comparison that really matters is whether you're making better decisions than you were a year ago.
Small improvements repeated consistently can completely transform your financial future.
So if someone asks us one last time whether they should invest or pay off debt first, what do we tell them?
We tell them to understand their interest rates, build a financial cushion, and choose the strategy that strengthens their overall position instead of chasing a simple rule.
Then keep reviewing the plan because good financial decisions aren't one-time events.
They're habits that evolve as your income, responsibilities, and goals evolve.
And don't wait for the perfect moment because financial confidence grows through action, not hesitation.
Start where you are, use what you have, and improve your plan as you learn more.
Years from now, you probably won't remember the exact investment you bought or the exact payment you made.
But you'll remember the freedom that came from finally being in control of your money instead of letting it control you.
If this conversation challenged the way you think about money, then we've accomplished exactly what we hoped.
Subscribe for more thoughtful conversations about money, investing, business, and building long-term wealth, and we'll see you in the next discussion.